All right, so you've won an Emmy.
Did you just say brass taxes?
Yeah, what is it?
It's kind of like the statue of limitations. This is Tales from the Ditch. Welcome. Today we have, of course, as always, is Seth shifting in his chair, rubbing his beard against the microphone. And we have a guest tonight. His name is Logan Needham. Welcome, Logan.
Thank you. You said my last name better than I've ever said it.
How do you...
It's the worst.
Was that the correct way to say it?
There is, with a name like that, there is no correct way.
I've never dealt with people saying my last name wrong.
Of course not you, yeah.
One time at one of our Fakesgiving parties, we had a ham, and I said, "Hey, Logan, do you need ham?" And you were like, "Get out of my face, a-hole."
I didn't laugh like I'd never heard it.
You were super pissed. No, you were actually offended, and he didn't talk to me the rest of the
I
night.
was not offended.
I'm pretty sure you were.
Promise. I don't know if I've ever been offended.
There was a kid whose first name was like Needham or something like that at elementary school, remember?
No,
it was like Needham Butt Kiss.
You're making crap.
It was weird. Okay.
Get down to the brass taxes. All right, so you've won an Emmy.
Did you just say brass taxes?
Yeah, what is it?
It's kind of like the statue of limitations.
I think it's brass tacks.
Is it brass tacks?
Like a tack. Like for upholstery.
Everyone knows those are made of tin.
I don't actually know this.
Oh, I thought it was brass tacks and I was pluralizing it.
No, I think it already is plural.
So it's like a tack. So what is a brass tack?
It's like a regular tack, only it's made of brass.
What's it for?
Tacking things.
So what?
Hanging
like upholstery.
posters?
I'm trying to understand. So let's get down. Oh, is it getting?
Yeah. But I don't know.
Let's get down
to the brass tack.
Let's get down. I thought it was a song.
Brass
you know what? Here.
Hey, everybody, let's get down.
Get
to
down
the
to the brass tacks. How about this? Brass is relatively heavy metal. So if you have a box of crap, wads of paper, small dead birds,
the tacks are going to be at
and
the bottom.
some tacks that are made of brass, and you shove that box around, and then you're like going through the box. When you're like down to the end, down to the business, you've gotten to the brass
So
tacks.
get to the bottom of it.
If you were reaching to the bottom,
I
you would
100%
stick
made that up.
a tack. No, that actually makes sense. We're going to say that's what it
So
means.
let's get
All we
down
have
to
to-
the brass tacks.
Let's put it on the internet, and then it'll be real. Just make a web page.
What did you win an Emmy for?
I won an Emmy for directing and editing a documentary that was about meth.
Very Washoe County.
Yep, it was an anti-meth documentary.
I think Seth was on that
I
documentary.
think I was.
It's possible.
I was.
Wait, so the very first
before.
one we did,
Criminal
you went to
number 2.
Sparks High School, right?
Yes, I remember.
Of course, this was after you were in high school, but because I was working a job, and you and I are not that far apart in age.
No, but I remember
So I'm sure
some
you
of the
didn't go there,
footage
but
being
yeah.
from Sparks High.
That was the first and last time we interviewed high schoolers, because turns out they're idiots.
Especially the methy ones.
They were so bad. Even the non-methy ones, they were like, oh goodness,
And
it was terrible.
And what was it? What was the device you made with your brother for National Geographic? What was that? It was
For National Geographic, we called it the Lunar Leaper.
Yes.
Because alliteration's fun. It was to describe that to somebody who's never seen it. It's imagine a tripod that's 20 feet tall, and on the top of the 20-foot tall tripod, you put a teeter-totter that's like 40 feet long, about, and where that teeter-totter sits on the tripod, it can teet and tot, but it can also pivot.
Yes.
Right, and spin. And now you have this 40-foot teeter-totter on a 20-foot tripod, and at the ends of the teeter-totter, instead of seats, we put like ropes, cables, whatever, that went down to humans who were wearing harnesses. And you have human A on one side and human B 40 feet away on the other side, and roughly matched in weight, and we could kind of adjust some weights. And then when you jump, you're like weightless, hence lunar.
Yeah, you
You
can
were
jump
like,
to the moon.
Boy, you could jump like 15 feet in the air, and you could run, and so when this whole thing got spinning, you're kind of running and jumping in a circle like a goon, but you run and jump and fly, and it was legitimately awesome.
I guess my big question is, who do you think you are, Logan, to defy physics and go against God?
I just, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, oh man, what if I could do this one thing? And you like have these harebrained ideas. I think most kids do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
In your fort building days. I just stuck with those ideas and I kept them until I was an adult. And then I started doing it.
That is like the best plan you can have, except for your marriage and career.
That's true.
But in all other areas, I think everybody should aspire to do that.
It 100% does not pay the bills. And I have a very, very gracious wife.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Well, was it a blast building that with? Was it with your
was
brother
so
and dad, or
so?
just
Here's
brother?
the thing: I always wanted to build that thing. I had this plan in my head for years, and when National Geographic called, they were like, "Hey, we're doing this show called Mad Scientists, and we saw this one thing you did, and it was cool. Would you be able to build something cool for the show? Give us some ideas." They didn't say it as
hello.
not quite like it was. They were more like a normal person because it was a phone call.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
And so I said, I have some ideas, and here are 3 or 4 of them, and I don't even remember what the other ones were at the moment, but I gave them the ideas, and then like the next day, they called me back, or wrote me back, and they were like, that giant teeter-totter thing, that sounds really great. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And they said, all right, can you have it built by May? Because it didn't exist yet. So the whole premise of their show was like, they go to this guy or person who's invented this thing, and they show up, and the show is like, hey, we came to his garage and he made this cool thing. Let's make it way cooler.
Right.
That's the premise of their show.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, they wanted to make this thing way cooler, but the thing didn't even exist in the first place yet. It was still just an idea. And so they were like, all right, we're coming to shoot in May or whatever. I think it was May. And they said, can you have one built by then? And I'm like, yep. I mean, you don't say no to National Geographic when they're like, hey, we're going to come and film a show at your house.
Actually, let me clarify first. We make jokes about people's credentials.
This
and
is
then
actually true.
Every
Yeah, we're
now
not
and then
lying.
we have
to tell
like
them.
real experts on. And Logan legitimately has an Emmy and legitimately has been on the National
We really
Geographic
do have to tell
channel.
people we're not lying because we don't.
Because we always say that.
Good.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Cry wolf too
But I
much.
remember they came out here because they saw video of the underwater bubble room.
Yep. That's why they called me. That's how they found me.
That's what prompted them to find
Yep.
you. And so I
Us, I should
remember when they came, call you guys. When they came, the day that they filmed you at the bubble room, I went up there to try to help out before and after.
Yeah. Because it was like thigh-deep snow.
Yeah, it was there was snow, and I thought it was March.
It was stupid. It may have been March.
And they were like, it's supposed to be hot because
months
this is the
and
desert.
time don't
Yeah.
work well in my brain. So it had an M in it.
It was early March, and it was snow, and we were sliding
Yeah.
down the bank, taking these scuba tanks down and
it
stuff.
was
It was
stupid.
crazy. But I remember what's super
Poor host almost
interesting
died.
about that. Yeah, is this poor host
Ridiculous.
just starts filming this brand new TV show, and he's kind of like getting his, I don't know, getting comfortable with being this host. And he was, so I went up there with Judah and Matt and me. We went up there, and we tried to get up there early to help you set it up, and then we took it down while you guys left with the
I
host.
totally forgot about that, but now I'm remembering.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
broke it,
that's
by
awesome.
the way.
That's
It was a
fine.
funny thing.
Jordan took
maybe
it to
I'll tell that
Jordan
story.
took it to the scrapyard.
It was
2
probably a
weeks
good
ago.
idea. To set the scene, Logan and his brothers built this underwater bubble room. So it was like, I would say
Rad.
the top of it was 15 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet down.
12, 15, yeah.
And so maybe the depth of the floor of a certain lake in our area was 20, 22 feet where it was, something like that.
I don't know if
Because
it's
I remember
that
I
deep. It
had
could've
to clear my nose 3 times to get all the way down.
Yeah, it was deep. It was deep enough.
Yeah, it
to,
was
like,
very deep.
Be legit.
Yeah. And so it was basically this big steel ring.
Like 8 feet in diameter.
8 feet in diameter with a net going over it. And then under the net was a piece of plastic. And you would trickle air under this piece of plastic and it would slowly turn into this bubble. And it would be so buoyant that it would lift this giant steel ring.
And the whole thing was tethered to these giant SUV-sized rocks.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And it was essentially a mouse trap underwater, which I found unnerving. And so anyways, we got up there.
What kind of mouse traps or mice you have?
I remember the game Mousetrap. It was like a board game.
Oh, yeah.
And it drops this net on top of a mouse.
I just liked reading the comments section on the YouTube video. Because were you the one responding to comments?
I try to keep.
Oh, that's a death trap. I remember the reply was, totally, man, it is. It's so hard to reply to these comments from beyond the grave. And I was like, excellent. I'm going to watch this.
Well, I have a funny story about how it was a death trap, too.
It really was, probably. But nobody died.
It was awesome. And, honestly, it was a modern marvel. And I thought you guys were the coolest guys for building it.
A real Rory Calhoun.
Because I always want to go swimming. I always want to dive deep and hold my breath and all those things. And this just was the perfect opportunity to do that. Plus, you would have to refresh the air occasionally. And so you would pull the plastic over and ride those bubbles to the top. And maybe your eardrums burst and your eyes bulged a little. But it was
don't hold your breath. That's one of those things. It was like when I was a kid. A pretty young kid, I was like, you like put a bucket over your head and you walk into the lake. And
exactly.
Like, oh, this is so cool. I can breathe. I'm like 3 inches down under the water and it looked so cool and sounded cool. And that, as a little kid, I was like, I want to do this. And as a 9-year-old, until I was probably 10 or 11, my idea for it was stupid. It was like, okay, I was going to get one of those big tanks, like a water storage tank, those big white tanks you see like on farms and stuff. I don't even know what they're for. I was going to get one somehow, cut the bottom off it, and then anchor these giant I-beams underwater and use like chain hoists and pull this thing down. And I was going to bolt benches on the inside. Like that was my original
That's awesome.
Idiot kid plan. And I just like let that fester.
That would have been
the back
more
of
of
my
a
mind
death trap. Though.
Forever. Oh yeah, it'd been terrible. And then one day, my little brother called me. He's like, Logan, I was taking a shower and I had this crazy idea. What if you could like build a room that was like underwater? And I was like, I've had this idea
is my life's work.
for 15 years. I am so glad. Let's do it. And like neither his idea was like meh, and my idea was like even worse. But together, like Jordan and I were able to brainstorm and come up with something pretty freaking legit.
Dude, it was
totally
awesome.
worked. And we put it in there like a bunch of times. And
you guys welded this giant steel ring with hooks on it to hold the net, and you welded this piece of plastic to make it big enough to hold the entire thing. It was cool.
Yep. I'm glad you said welded for the plastic.
So I follow.
That's true.
Because that's true, right?
That's true.
Technically.
Yep.
I showed up there.
It's chemical weld, Seth.
I'm watching you.
I think we showed up there.
We don't need a Logan Needham trickery.
And we were trying to get up there before you guys because we wanted to be helpful, but also we wanted to go to the bubble room. And be able to say that we
wanted to be in the
scuba
background.
dove in Tahoe in March with 4 feet of snow.
With National Geographic.
With National
With
Geographic.
National Geographic underwater camera
It
team.
was, what
so-
month was it during winter?
I'm pretty sure it was early March.
It must have been March because my brain had an M in it and he said March. And I know there was snow.
Because that's like my claim
Sounds
to fame
right
that
for
I
Yeah.
scuba dove Tahoe
And it was
with
deep
snow on the shore. Yeah.
It was like, I feel like I remember it thigh deep.
Well, so we showed up, and you guys were already there, and the National Geographic van was there and everything. And we're trying to find you guys because of the snow, we had to find this alternate route, and it's almost like a cliff. It's practically like a cliff to get down to the waterfront.
It's like illegal just parking on the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not like a
On the
place.
soft shoulder,
It's like a sketchy place on the side of the Highway 89.
And we come around this big boulder,
I mean, some other highway that nobody knows about.
and we see this guy talking
The jig
to
is up,
himself.
Needham.
And he's like, it turned out to be the host of the show, and this was like the 3rd episode that he'd done, and he had no idea what he was getting himself into
gosh.
because he was like, "You can do this!" He was like yelling at himself.
Was
He's
he
like,
really?
"You can do this! You can do this!" And he was like rehearsing his lines and stuff.
way, really?
And then he saw us and he was like super swooped by us. And we were like, hey man, are you here with the thing? And
He
goes, "Yeah, I'm
really
here with
did
the show."
that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had never heard that story. He was such a cool guy.
He was
John,
way
his name
cool.
was John,
Yeah,
I
he
think.
was great.
He was like, he always seemed like a cool cat. Like he just had it all under control.
Yeah,
That's
he
funny
was,
to hear that.
no, he was really good once he got on camera, but he was like, because
That's a pep talk.
I
and
talked
stuff.
to the guy who was, I guess, like the PA or something, and he was like, we had no idea you guys would have snow. This is the desert. This is like, we just came
They were so
from
surprised.
Like, yeah.
They were
And
like,
I was like, no, we have snow every winter.
they
where we
pictured
are.
all of Nevada as like
the Mojave. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like nothing.
Exactly.
And they think that there's a border, and then you cross it and you're in California, and it looks like Yosemite
Right.
because people don't understand geography.
Yeah, exactly. So we're in Nevada. They expect it to be hot with like the sun baking
It was hot.
cactuses and stuff like that.
Now, honestly, we went down to my parents' house where we did version 1 of this Lunar Leaper deal, and it was like legit t-shirt weather. It was hot.
Yeah.
So
Well, up wherever we were at this largest alpine lake in northern
Why
America.
can't we say the name?
I don't
don't know.
I think it's illegal.
I just started by not saying the name because people are like, "Where is it?"
I'm just trying to follow suit.
No,
So-
good. All right.
and
As
I
long
was
as
like-
I'm onto it. All right.
This
I mean,
guy
People found it.
was traveling to the... I'll let you tell this part of the story, but I believe he almost died traveling to the bubble room.
The swimmer dude?
The host.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
he
yeah.
had to put on the... I'll let you
Yeah,
tell
so
the
we
story.
so just to make things weirder, instead of just swimming down to the bubble room. So to get to the bubble room, it's like 40 feet out from shore. No, it's more than that. 80 feet out from shore.
Yeah,
80 feet out from
pretty
shore, 20 feet deep. And you got to swim down to it. And normally you swim out over it and then you swim down, and yay, it's fun. But we had also experimented with this thing that we called the bubble helmet, which is a stupid name for a diving bell.
Yes.
So something that's been around since, forever. Not a new invention, but we thought it'd be fun to make. So the first one we made, we used like a water cooler jug thing. You can barely see through it. We had like ropes because you got to weigh it down. It's quite a bit of lift. So for every cubic foot of air, it's got 67 pounds of lift, which is the weight of a cubic.
Does the lift increase as you get deeper? Or
No.
is it constant?
It's based on volume. So buoyant lift is equal to the amount of volume, the weight of the volume of water it displaces.
So it decreases.
Well, it decreases if the volume decreases, but if you keep the volume the same, then it doesn't change.
Okay. Oh, by adding. I see
Air.
what you're saying. Okay.
Right.
I
So
understand.
yes, density changes. The
Right.
density of the air changes. It gets more dense. So if you had a balloon and you filled it on the surface,
It would get smaller.
and it would get smaller and its buoyancy would decrease.
Interesting. Okay.
It would become more dense. The number of molecules wouldn't change.
Yeah, right.
But
The volume would.
yeah. And that's actually what's really dangerous about one thing that's dangerous about scuba diving
About diving bells.
and diving bell helmet.
Bubble helmet.
Oh, it's such a stupid idea. So the first one we were like, oh yeah, we'll use like a raft pump to like pump fresh air to the guy wearing the helmet thing. And we got like pillowcases tied to this thing filled with rocks so that because you had to get weighted down enough that you could walk on the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
we tried it out at Fallen Leaf Lake the first time, and you're like pumping this pump, so there's one poor sap on the surface just pumping his heart out, right? Sitting in like a little raft trying to pump air down so the guy down below doesn't die. And it turns out that water is really heavy.
Yeah.
And so you get that helmet like 4 feet under water, and it's ridiculously difficult to pump air down to it.
Right.
Because of the pressure of the water. And so after almost dying in our awesome crystal geyser water helmet, we made a better one, and we used a tube connected to a scuba tank, which you just like crack this tank open a little bit and it just bubbles
Just let it overflow.
fresh air into your helmet the whole time. And then we made like these lead shot sacks that sit on your front and back to weight it down. So it's like, and the helmet was this goofy, it's like from a street lamp or something. I don't know, like it's like a sphere of acrylic.
Yeah.
And then, so you put it on
awesome.
and your head looks like the size of a golf ball. And we put it on this poor guy. We had never really even tested it. And we're like, all right, yeah, John, sure, walk along the shore out to this
and you were sending
dangerous
him to
room.
his death.
Oh my gosh, he could have died. They cut that all completely out of the show.
Yeah.
His immediately, since the water was so freaking cold, it fogged up inside. He couldn't see a damn thing. He'd never been there. He didn't,
deeper and deeper into
poor
the
guy.
lake.
He did not know what he was getting into.
He kept falling forward too. I remember.
Oh my gosh, it was freaking.
Was
nuts.
there any behind the scenes thing we didn't see that were funny of the producer coming up or saying, "Hey, it'd be cool if you guys said this or added some tension or we need some conflict," and you were all, "No, man, I'm about the music," and kicked over the camera. And
We're just real. No, I kind of half expected something like that, but they were very much just hands off. Hey, you be you,
Do your thing. Yeah.
I mean,
I
my
have
garage
actually funny
looked
story.
I wanted to know Logan threw a whiskey bottle at someone. That's what I was hoping for.
Logan, I don't know if I ever told you the story about after you guys left. So after you did the bubble room, you guys had to jet and do the lunar launcher.
Yep. Leaper, but whatever.
Lunar Leaper, and
We're gonna lose our sponsors
and
now.
Judah, Matt, and I, or I think maybe Judah went with you, and Matt and I don't know what happened, but we were gonna take the whole thing down.
So you filled it.
And
I've heard this. I have video of this.
Oh, you did?
There was a GoPro on the roof.
Oh man. So Matt and I dove down to it, and we were hanging out in there and just being like, wow, that was fun. And we were starting to...
You were like, let's go on YouTube and comment, have you hotboxed this thing?
Yes.
We should smoke weed down
Dude,
here.
that was the other crazy thing about the bubble room was whenever there was a swell or some waves,
Oh gosh, that was crazy.
the air would condense into a cloud.
It was legit.
And so every time, I think
Yeah.
it was when you're in the trough of the wave.
Yeah.
No. In the crest of the wave. So that you're in this bubble
higher
room.
pressure.
And then the air would all of a sudden get foggy and then get clear.
It was nuts.
And foggy
No,
and
thank
clear.
you.
It was so
crazy.
cool. It literally
It was really
a
neat.
cloud would form in the room and then disappear and then form and then disappear as every wave that went over the top.
So
It was so cool.
So Matt and I are in the bubble room. We're standing on the sand at the bottom of the lake, 20 feet down.
with your nipples dry.
In a Farmer John wetsuit with a couple other wetsuits and a thermal because...
Oh gosh, it was so
And
cool.
I didn't have a paddy card, but I kept...
I don't know if any of us did.
Did
I
you
don't
have
know
a
that
bubble
anybody
helmet?
did. No. I was just down there with scuba gear.
gear.
Okay.
Well, so you don't
And
need scuba gear when you're in the
amateurs.
room. I don't know
Yeah,
if we ever
exactly.
even really fully explained this thing. So
Yeah.
if you take a cup and you turn it upside down and you stick it in your bathtub and you push it down, there's air in that cup.
Yeah.
Now imagine you're a little man and you're standing in that cup. You can stand in there and breathe and talk and text
Yeah.
or whatever.
There's video of it. Just Google bubble room. You'll figure it out.
And read
Yeah.
the comments.
Google
section.
Google the underwater bubble room, but click on the one that says the oldest one.
Yes.
Don't click on the friggin' Italian dude who
Oh, yeah.
What's the
Who stole
location
your
so we can
idea.
sabotage it? What's the location of the other one?
It's in
It's in
Italy.
Italy.
I'll go there. I
It's
don't care.
It's a mess.
We're in the bubble room, and
A lot
we
was
would
just
use
said.
regulators and just kind of refresh the air
Yeah.
by holding the regulator open. And then my regulator froze open.
Because I don't know if we mentioned, it was freaking winter. And
It was-
really cold.
Yeah, it was snowing on the surface, or there was snow on the surface, and I don't know how much colder it gets, but it was much
It's a
colder
lot
down below.
colder. You get 10 feet down and there's this.
Thermocline.
Yeah, that's a fun word.
Yeah. And
It's
in
ridiculously
the
cold.
bubble room, the air inside the bubble room was below freezing because the
So
regulator froze open, plus the compressed air, I'm sure, is cold too. And so we couldn't get it to stop. And I was like, crap. And we were sticking our tongues in it and sticking our fingers in it, and we couldn't get the regulator valve to close. And this shows you my loyalty as a friend and also my skill as a scuba diver. We're sitting there arguing about how to get this regulator fixed and talking about how maybe we should separate the line and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I hear like submarine noises, like ting, ting, ting. And then I just see white. And it's foamy, tiny bubbles everywhere, and I can't see anything. And Matt and I were standing next to each other, and I remember I did exactly what you should do in this type of situation. I grabbed Matt.
Yourself? Because
I grabbed Matt and I pushed him down to push myself up to the surface. And I crawled up Matt and kept pushing him down so that I could get to the surface as quickly as possible because I was so paranoid that the mousetrap was going to spring on me and I would be stuck under there. And he still remembers it to this day because I essentially betrayed him.
Isn't that attempted murder? I think it is.
I got to the top. He still remembers it like night and day.
You give me crap for King Skate Country leaving when we picked a fight with a guy who you said the plan was to run away, and you gave me crap for his years later, but you pushed your friend, drowning him, trying to murder him so you could live.
It was actually...
You can't bring up Roller
so
Kingdom
terrible.
anymore.
I still feel so guilty about
Goodness.
that. And this one time this lady got hit in the jaw with my surfboard. Those are the two things I feel the most guilty about in my life. But my
Not
point
the
is...
fighting ring with special ed kids?
No, I didn't force anybody to do anything. So anyways, I got to the top and Matt was just sitting down there and he was raising his hands underwater looking up at me at the surface saying, "Why did you do that?"
Because it was fine. You panicked, but it was like
what happened was one
kink, kink, and it like
I think
the
it was
cable
held by
slipped.
3.
Yeah, it's held by 3 cables.
And one slipped, so the thing came up and I freaked out.
And as the good engineers that we are, we put 2 cable ties on 2 of the cables. But the third one, we only had
just
one other cable.
put a square knot
cable
in
clamp, so we're like, nah, it'll be
work.
fine. It's
So
it's
it was
just
funny.
National Geographic. And then
So what would happen was the buoyancy would increase because we kept adding air because my regulator was froze open. And one section of the ring went up high. All the air started to escape, creating bubbles. I couldn't see anything and was scared of the mousetrap, and so I got out of there as quick
some
as
of the
possible.
air escaped.
It was really funny. And then I felt really bad for Matt, and I felt bad that we ruined Logan's creation.
So
it was pretty funny.
It's like thousands of pounds of lift.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's like 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of lift. And then, because those cables aren't straight down, they're at an angle. They're at like a 120 degree angle.
It has like that prying lever effect.
Like if I'm holding if I have a 10-pound bucket of water and I put a rope on it and I pick it up straight up, that's like 10 pounds of stress on that string. Right? But if I try to
drag it,
if I like tie that rope to a doorknob and put the bucket on the middle of the rope and I hold the other end of the rope and I just pull straight out from the doorknob and try to lift the bucket,
it's like 5 pounds,
it takes a whole lot more force, a lot more tension in the rope. And so the tension, long story short, there's an equation for it. And it's super nerdy, but the tension on each cable is like close to 3 tons on each of the 3 cables. It's ridiculous.
Can I,
crazy.
before your lawsuit question, I
you're
want to
lucky you
ask him
didn't
a
die.
legitimate question.
Yes.
So, do you know what FOMO is?
Like fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
He knows.
So here's what I want to ask. Okay.
Was I not supposed to know that?
No, you were.
Seth
yogurt, right?
Seth didn't know what it was till last week.
So no, I didn't. So Time
But
Magazine.
you know you have it.
Well, yeah. Time Magazine has described Logan Needham as insatiable, merciless, kind, ingenuitive,
Devilishly handsome.
immortal. No, I got a question. So with fear of missing out, some people might look at your life as like the grass is greener. Like, all right, to put it into context, you've been in a band, you've done music, you've done these cool creative things. And I know some people who might have lived what they call, their words, not mine, oh, I've lived this ordinary life. I haven't done much. They sometimes, I've seen them do this when I tell my story to guys who maybe followed God their whole life and didn't go off and rebel, didn't do things. They go, oh gosh, you have this crazy story. And I feel like there might be a tendency too that a guy might look at you and go, oh, he's done this, this, and this. Why haven't I done it? And make this assumption of he must have no regrets. He's had the super exciting life. He's always pumped. He can look back and say, I'm always doing cool things. He's never doubted. It's this grass is greener, like, oh, he's done cool stuff. Not knowing that you could do all these cool things and still struggle with the exact same things other people do, have the same weaknesses, insecurities.
Preach.
I mean, because I know some people who think like, oh, if I was just in this band, that would make my life better.
Goodness, I probably think that.
And then they meet the guy, and the guy in the band is an alcoholic, third marriage, struggling.
Yeah.
So have you ever dealt with that idea of FOMO, of fear of missing out of, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I did more, or still even looking at your life and going, man, like, is this even the life I want? Even if it was just at one moment in time, because it doesn't seem like you're a guy who would say, I've never had any struggles with anything. I mean,
so that's a super good question, and it's kind of a twofold answer, because I think I have struggled with some of the FOMO stuff from time to time recently, like in the last 4 years.
Really? Okay.
However, so early on in life, I realized, I guess, I don't know. I just realized that I was a little different and that I probably wasn't going to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably tried to fit in a little bit and realized it was a ton of work and it probably was going to cost money and it was going to be stupid and it wasn't going to be me. And I sort of gave up on that. And that got solidified when I started high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was homeschooled until 4th grade. And I was
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Me too.
Same with Seth.
Really? Well, I was a total jerk to my mom. Like a lot of homeschool kids are.
Same with Seth.
Yeah. And my mom had had enough. And she's like, that's it. You're going to public school. And I deserved it because I was an a-hole.
Yeah.
And so I had to go to public school for 2 years. And then we reassessed the situation. So I went 4th and 5th to public school. End of 5th, it was, hey, do you want to go to public school more or do you want to be back homeschooled? And of course I was like, yeah, please homeschool me. So I went back to homeschool and I was homeschooled until high school.
Oh, wow.
So I had this weird like back and forth.
Yeah.
And then I started high school at Hug High School, which was...
You went to Hug?
You went to
joke.
Thug High?
Yes. It was... The school itself wasn't a joke, but what was a joke was like the placement end of year, whatever exam that I took wasn't the one that the school system uses and blah, blah, blah. And it was
really?
It was this big stupid mess where they're like, well, we can't place you into anything because we can't read those test scores. So we're just going to put you in all the basic everythings. And so I was in like super basic science inquiry and computers 0 and like whatever. It was a joke. It was a legitimate joke. Like I knew twice as much as my science teacher knew. And not in a prideful way. It was just like she was trying to teach kids who like would much rather be ditching school, smoking weed and playing Mario than being at school. And I wanted to be at school because I wanted to learn stuff. And so like
different than me.
So her like target was way different than mine. Anyway, my point is I was like, this is dumb and people are idiots and everybody's trying to fit in and everybody's trying to do the cool thing and the cool thing's stupid and why don't you just... And I just was like, I'm just going to like not care. And so I stopped caring. I didn't really have any friends anyway.
Punk rock.
I went from homeschool where none of my friends go to public school. I had friends, but they weren't in public school. Yeah. And then I go to Hug High School. Obviously I know nobody. My older brother was a senior and wanted nothing to do with me because he was way too cool.
That's helpful.
And it was like, I was super alone. And I mean, I'm sure I struggled with it, but ultimately I became okay with it. And I would just like, there was these stairs behind the office. I'd hang out there at lunch alone. And I just was like, I'm just going to put in my time and like get through high school. This is stupid. And so I did 2 years at Hug and then I transferred to TMCC High School.
Yeah.
And that was legit because all of a sudden I went from like, all of my peers were like kids who are at school because mommy makes them go to school and they're going to get in trouble, but for being truant, to being in school with people who are like, oh yeah, I'm here on purpose.
Yep.
Like, I know that there's more to life.
Some of us.
I tried.
The mentality difference was night and day.
It was huge, yeah.
And it was like, it was wonderful. And so I made up for the wasted years at Hug with my 2 good years at TMCC. And I don't even remember what started this conversation. What were we talking about?
FOMO.
People
of how,
think you're super cool
because
and
you know
want to live your life.
A guy who's been a Christian his whole life might look at me and go, "Oh, Seth has done all this. I've missed out."
Oh, for sure.
And someone else might look at you and go,
"So I struggled with the whole testimony thing big time."
Really?
Like, big time. When I was probably 16, 17 years old, I got baptized when I was like 17. I mean, I was quote a Christian from...
He's doing quote fingers.
Quote
just
fingers.
so you know.
I did the Sinner's Prayer with my grandma stuck in a snowstorm on the Donner Pass when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
But I don't think... I mean, I was 8.
Yeah.
I was like, what's Jesus about? And she's like, here, say this stuff or what, And I went to church, but I don't think it... I feel like when I got baptized was more when I kind of owned my own salvation.
Yeah.
In a way.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I had never done any of the crazy stuff. I had never stabbed anybody in the neck. I had never stolen anything. I stole a plastic camel in preschool. I went to daycare when I was little, and I stole this little plastic camel. I stole it. I took it home.
Yeah.
And I felt so freaking guilty for that. And I don't even remember if I came clean. I remember the lady, the daycare lady's name was Lizzie, and I thought she was awesome, and I just felt so bad and so much shame. And that was the worst thing. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the worst thing, but I didn't have that I didn't feel like I changed from something.
Yeah.
And so I actually spent some time feeling like I was not my testimony was stupid and not worth anything because I'm just a guy who went to church because I went to church with my mom and now I'm a Christian and whatever. This is super boring. And I really, really struggled with that. Kind of big time.
Wow.
And then...
Didn't know that.
Eventually, and I don't know when it happened, there's no real event, but eventually I think God was your story is your story.
Yep.
I died for you just as much as I died for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And you're forgiven the same way anybody else is forgiven, and that your sins are the same as other people's sins. And it just kind of I was just thinking too much of myself or something, because it was oh yeah, you're right. Salvation is salvation. I don't have to do stupid stuff first in order for it to have value.
And you witnessed to me without having those experiences. Because I remember it was a MySpace message.
Oh, gosh.
You were I guess all the cool people are cussing. And you were kind of making a joke. I was like, you know what? F you. I started getting mad. But then I was talking to you. I started falling apart going, for some reason, I want to be honest with him and tell him, dude, I'm not in a good place. And I'm struggling. And you were able to witness to me without that experience. And that's why I also wanted to bring up the excitement thing, because I think there's an idolatry there of going, well, Logan did these exciting things. He must not wrestle with it. And that to me is, you're inadvertently saying these things, if you do them, get rid of these struggles, get rid of these insecurities. They'll fulfill me. They'll do this. Because if you're thinking, well, if I do exciting things, I won't have regret. If I do fun stuff, my life will be perfect. If I do this and this, if you think of it, you're finding hope and fulfillment in excitement, adventure. Also, instead of just saying, I like adventure, I do it, it's no. Adventure will be a thing that ultimately fixes us. It saves me, fulfills me. Because I think the reason I struggle with stuff so much was I could not accept an ordinary world from a young age. The idea of an ordinary world, I'm how can I accept the world as it is and get this 9 to 5 when I can read Lord of the Rings and there's dragons and all this stuff, Neverending Story was the one I went, dude, if that's how it could be, how can I accept how it is? So I went, okay, I'll be in a band and I'll tour and I'll just do weird things and have to stand out, all because the idea of boredom was just a death sentence to me. And when people I feel would look at your life and go, well, he must not have these struggles, I go, I feel like that's them putting hope in it of the thing that ultimately won't fulfill me is God or, anything like that. The thing that's going to fulfill me is, I just need more excitement. Well, I need to do what Logan's done. Instead of saying, no, God's going to fulfill me, heal that, help me with regret. No, it won't be God. It's my hope is in, if I just did this, I've seen people do this. I did this when I lost my amateur fight. I went, well, I'm still regretting because I lost. Oh, if I just won, then I wouldn't feel this way. When before the fight, I said, if I just had a match, win or lose, I'd be happy. Then I had the match. I said, if I just had a match, I'd win. And I bet after that, even if I won, I would have said, well, if I just got a title shot, then I'd be happy. Because I see it's this awesome adventure you've been on, but I don't want to ever feel the temptation of, well, but if I did what Logan did, that would fix me. That'd get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Totally. I totally know what you mean. I struggle with all the same crap everybody else struggles with.
Yeah.
I'm dirt poor. I basically lost my house not too long ago. I mean, we sold it on purpose, but it was like because we couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
And we're renting now, and that's hard. There's no place we can't. Like I've struggled. I'm not trying to like paint a sob story, but it's like my life's not all
reality.
roses just because there's an Emmy or a National Geographic. Like that stuff is. I don't even think about that stuff till people bring it up. Like
really,
it doesn't even. Yeah,
See?
I literally forget about it 100%. It's just not part of my life until people bring it up. But people see that stuff and they think it's all great, but it's just I'm just a normal dude.
And I think and this is part of the nuance of this whole thing, I think, too. Another part of
is this the brass taxes of it?
This is the brass taxes.
I looked up the meaning while you
Texas.
guys. It is brass tacks, and it said to get down to the basic reality of the topic. Like, let's get to the core of it. The brass tacks. I've been saying brass taxes for 20 years, and Sean has never corrected me.
Sorry,
I'll start correcting you on these things. There's a bunch I could start right now.
No, I want to know.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
there's nothing about dead baby birds in a box. So. Dang it. I was
so close. There's still, I want to say, there's still consequences for things that you do that are awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not like trying to like center everything and say that everything's relative and anything that's awesome is equally unawesome. Mm-hmm. But like, for example, being in a band was super cool and super rewarding and super fun. And we all can say that we shared in that experience. Yeah. But it was also super depressing. And it also really screwed me up.
When no one shows up to a show for people.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Or even like just like
people.
thinking that you're going to be able to do this for a living and finding out you can't.
Yeah.
And like things like that. The bubble room, I'm sure, had some kind of consequences. Like all of the crazy, awesome stories that we probably tell to impress people because we're insecure somehow. All of those have consequences. Like sometimes, almost always have negative consequences that we don't tell that part of the story. And I think sometimes that sets people up to maybe feel that FOMO because we're saying, oh yeah, I did this awesome thing because I'm so cool. And we neglect to say, and this is how I'm still paying for it to this day.
Yeah. I agree with that. At the same time, I think that this is going to probably sound a little weird the way I'm presenting it. But like, there's so much value to being optimistic in everything. So let me back up. Sorry.
I'm already on board.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you, but go ahead.
So, a couple years ago, we were driving somewhere, we were driving to Oregon or something. Me and my wife, two daughters.
Oregon.
To buy weed.
Gorgeous.
And I don't even remember what it was. We're just driving, and I'm just like, oh, look at that. That is so cool. And there's like these grain silos or something. I'm like, oh, sweet. That's so cool. Oh, look at that bridge. I can't believe how they like suspended that. That's so cool. And then we're like, wow, that falling down barn that's 200 years old is just blowing my mind. I want to stop and take pictures of it. And I keep like pointing out these things to Angel, my wife. And she's like, I don't think she was getting frustrated, but it was just kind of like,
you gotta stop.
What the heck? Come on, man. Like, I get it. There's cool stuff. Just drive. And she would tell this story very differently, I'm sure. But that spurred on a conversation between her and I that was when I came up with the term enjoyer. So I'm an enjoyer. And I think that being an enjoyer of things. So that goes for just about everything. Like there's very little I don't enjoy. I try to not be judgy about food. I'll try new things. Sometimes it's terrible. Like sometimes it's really bad. So before we had kids, we went to Europe, for like a couple weeks. My wife and I was like, we saved up money. It was like, we're never going to get to do this after we have kids. We're going to start a family. So let's go do this last hurrah. And Angel had salmon every single time, every meal, basically. Because first of all, it was amazing. You're on the coast. You're in Italy. It's like beautiful. Salmon is guaranteed win, right? And I love salmon. I had salmon like once, maybe. I would take bites from hers, but I tried a new thing every time because I wanted to try, like, I just wanted to, I want to enjoy things. And I had some terrible, terrible meals. Like, one of the worst
I love you more already.
pureed, anchovy, disgusting slosh things I've ever had in Venice while my wife sat there and enjoyed her wonderful salmon. And I don't regret it because it was an experience. It was new. I learned from it.
Preach. Amen.
There's like so much to enjoy. And it comes down to everything. Like, how the heck is this spring made? I don't know. There's got to be a machine that makes these by the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And is it hot when they make it? I don't know. Like wonderment. You know how Jesus is like, come to me as children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I think children have better than adults is wonder. They wonder about stuff all the time. And they're like, how does that do that? Can I fly if I jump off the top of this thing? Like, how big of a stick can I carry? Like, they just wonder.
Maverick
stuff.
asked 10 questions and then 15 clarifying ones.
It's so good.
Interesting.
It's so good. And I'm that way. And it is so edifying. It is like my favorite thing. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Right.
I just love to enjoy things. I love to look at pine needles and dirt and bugs and wonder about everything. And I think that being an enjoyer, I think anybody can do it. Like, it's not like you are or aren't. Like Angel, at that time in our conversation, she wasn't as much. I mean, she enjoyed stuff. She's a wonderful girl and it's great. But like, she's intentionally like tried to appreciate the little things more and more since then. And I think that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
Again, I'm like down a rabbit trail and I forget where we were
No,
going.
it's good. Like, I think you're right, and I think it's important as an enjoyer to not judge non-enjoyers. Because like you said, it's temporary.
No, bring them in.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing, is to like bring them in. Like,
my wife one time.
This is so cool. I know you've probably never thought about this, and I haven't either. But check it out. It is so cool. Like, somebody designed this.
Right.
Like, come on.
My wife and I would be on vacation, maybe in some exotic place. Not really exotic, but exotic for us, so not Reno. And and I'd be like,
Reno,
we have the
Desert.
ability to do all these activities out there and enjoy things. And she goes, you know what? I would really like to just stay here and watch cable, because we've never had cable, you know?
Yeah.
And she goes, I just want to stay in the room and watch cable. I'm like, are you kidding me? The ocean's like right there. And she goes, I'd rather watch cable.
Totally.
And there's compromise there, because part of me has to be like, if that's what there's nothing wrong with what she wants.
Yeah.
If she truly wants to do that, then that's beautiful in itself. And like, she can do that. So part of me has to do that. But like you're saying, the other part has to inspire her to want to do something
Bring her in,
that I think is more interesting. And, on the contrary, part of her has to inspire me to want to watch TV.
Hey, maybe this cooking show is cool.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
or
she
about
does that
horses
all
or
the time.
whatever.
She surprises me with stuff that I think is going to be lame, and it turns out to be cool.
Totally. Yeah,
So-
being open both ways is super important.
Exactly. But I know what you're saying, like, being an enjoyer, as you've termed it. You came up with that, right? Trademark?
I feel like I did,
Patent pending?
Yeah, patent pending.
Being an enjoyer is awesome, but I feel like sometimes if you're not skilled at it, it can be isolating.
Yeah. Well, for me, it helps me to battle that FOMO stuff too.
Mm.
Because I can look at, FOMO for me comes into play. So I don't know.
Yeah, when do you feel FOMO?
So I didn't for a long, long, long time. I was like, literally, there was a point in my life when I was like, I'm going to be a long haul truck driver. I'm going to be alone and stoked about it. Don't get me wrong. I was like, this is like a goal. Like, I'm going to drive for a gajillion hours a day and go all over the country, and I will never know anybody, and I'll just be a drifter, and it'll be legit.
With
and then
a shadow past.
And then, exactly. And
I
then,
actually, can I just to interject real quick? I know I
love
cut
of
people
God,
off all
Sean.
the time. I'm sorry, but I remember one time, Logan, you were like, I was like, what are you doing this weekend? This was a long time ago. And you were like, I'm going to go down to this was before you were married. and you were like, I'm going to go down to like a record store in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And I was
I did
like,
stupid stuff.
I was like, cool, dude. Like, let's do a road trip. And you were like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm going by myself.
Oh, I didn't uninvite you. Come on.
You didn't uninvite me, but you were just like, I have a weird schedule.
You
a fair-
milkshaked him and then
and-
went on your
I did a fair amount of road trips.
Yeah, you
with
were
people.
you were definitely pro road trip, but I think I could tell you were saying you had this weird schedule and you were going to have to leave early
I had
and
a
come
weird
back
schedule.
early or something like that.
I worked at 3 a.m. in those days.
Yes.
And then Sean's
weird.
tires were all slashed. That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird too.
But either way, I could tell, and I was like, I was kicking myself for not realizing this sooner, but I could tell that maybe a little part of it was you were looking forward to like solitude
You
and
know
just
what's-
having isolation.
You know what's so funny is that I look back and see that at the time there's no chance. And when I first learned about the concept of like solitude or silence and solitude or whatever, just like being alone with God, I had this huge aversion to it. I was like,
That's crazy.
this is impossible. You are asking me to clear my mind. What kind of a stupid request is that? I cannot do this. And I was like mad about it legitimately. And, I've since then, I don't practice it better or more, but I have definitely changed my views on it.
Well,
Because
when
I
you're
feel like-
describing wanting to be a long haul trucker,
Yeah,
by
I know.
yourself,
See, that's the
it
weird
makes
thing.
so much sense.
Because I'm like, oh, and then the other thing is, I was just talking to somebody today about this. Like, Brandon Balkenbush. You guys know what the Balkenbush is?
Yeah, Falconbush. Rhymes with bush.
Yeah. Randomly, I was talking to him today, and I was telling him, like, I definitely could have been, and still part of me desires, to, like, just be a hermit, living off the grid, in the woods, raising my own food, no electricity, build my own everything, and just live out my life. And, like, have a couple dogs, and maybe a wife and kids, but, like, I could just do that. I could so be that guy. Obviously, life is taking me a very different direction than that, but, like, I'm so into that. And I think it's because I find just joy in all the things. Like,
yeah.
I find so much joy in everything.
I'm glad you didn't get into drugs. If you're an enjoyer,
Oh my gosh. There's so many things I'm glad I didn't get into. If I weren't saved, man, shoot.
that phrase
first
has been
of all,
said on this show.
If I weren't saved, I'd be rich. I'll give you that
That's
much.
definitely true.
I would be really rich. I would, I think heists would be a thing. Like,
Dude, I am
Oh,
actually
cat burglary.
I'm actually starting to think that I could justify bank robbery.
What do you? What?
That's that. That's all I was going to say about that.
That's not all I know. I do want to say it. All right, so we've known you because we try to do one of these each podcast. So we have different stories from growing up of stuff of like, oh yeah, we shot Roman candles at this person or we blew something up. I'm sure seeing by the scar on your neck, which you've talked about, I'm sure growing up you have some stories of either fireworks, blowing something up, because that's what we cut. You know, obviously, Tales from the Ditch. Sean says, remember that time, you know, we had the dry ice bomb, or I pushed Seth off a roof, or, you know, I had, you know, or I tried to drown Matt. Like, what's the story you have of growing up? Some crazy story.
Oh man. So I have.
A few.
So I have like I have a bunch. I have like explosion stories and stuff, but I think one of my most favorite stories, and I've only become comfortable telling this story recently. I actually think I've only fully told it one other time. It's very nice.
Oh, it feels so good.
Rubbing your beard on the undies.
Rubbing my beard.
They're stockings. Thank you.
Say whatever you want to justify. All right, go ahead.
To
You're just
everybody
now
else on the planet who's not here watching what just happened, that's going to be weird.
It was last time.
So, okay. I've told versions of this story, just leaving out some details, incriminating details, but I feel like I'm old enough. It's been long enough.
Statue of limitations.
the
The statue has spoken.
which is weighed down by brass taxes.
That's right.
Those
brass
dang
taxes.
taxes from Obama. Thanks a lot.
Oh my brass. So, how old was I? It was, I don't know. I was probably 17, and I I was kind of in road trip mode, and I could have been. Yeah, I was probably 17. Anyway, so me and two friends wanted to go on a road trip, and I had the. Actually, I was going to say brilliant idea sarcastically, but it was actually a cool idea.
All right.
The idea was, instead of going west where everybody goes from Reno to all of the life
Cool stuff.
we're like, let's go east, and this will be our goal. Find as many hot springs and as many abandoned ghost towns as possible in Nevada.
It actually sounds like a pretty fun trip.
It was legit. So first, I don't know how long it takes to get to Lodi. I don't know. But whatever. That was our...
That's west, isn't it?
No, east.
Lodi?
No, not Lodi, California.
There's a Lodi, Nevada?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
It's
I've lived in Nevada for 25 years.
It's like 40 people. Oh, so this is actually kind of funny. So, so we found at Savers a Lodi police uniform. This is not the story I was going to tell, but this is a pretty funny detail.
You have to now. Yeah. Goodness.
We found a Lodi police uniform, and we're like, well, we have to buy this if we're going out to Lodi, Nevada.
Right.
We're going through it. So we got out there. This is just a little side story. We got out there, and we had my mom's minivan, Dodge minivan we borrowed. And one of us would put on the uniform. We get on this little side street in Lodi. One of us would put on the uniform and pretend like we had just pulled over the van. But of course there's no squad car. So it's just a cop giving a ticket to a kid in a van on some podunk thing. And then when we would wait until a car would come by, and then we would ensue in a fight where the driver of the car would get out and start punching the police officer.
That is awesome.
We were very fortunate that we didn't get in big trouble, because people were slowing down, and it was weird. Because I'm sure beating up a cop in Lodi.
Did anyone try stop and help the cop?
So people slow down, slow down. I don't know if anybody fully stopped.
They're hey, stop that.
I honestly think
it off.
They slow down. They're like, what's happening? That cop's getting beat up. And they're like, there's no cop car. That cop looks like he's 16. He's wearing jeans. We're going to keep driving. And they just would go. That happened about 4 or 5 times. And anyway, we had our fun. Anyway, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story.
It sounds awesome.
So me and these two friends we did our road trip. First hour of our road trip, I backed my mom's minivan into a big flatbed hay trailer at the Lodi Visitor Center, and
like you do,
broke the back window. So the entire trip, we've got a blanket, trying to keep dust, because we're going into ghost towns, right? So we're 4-wheeling mobbing this minivan out into the desert. It was bad. We thrashed her car. I felt really bad. I actually had to pay for it. Anyway. So we're coming back. We did all our ghost town stuff and hot springs, and it was awesome. We're on our way back home, and there's just long stretches of nothing, and it was late, and we were tired, and so we were going to sleep. And so we just pulled off. It's a freeway, but there's not exits. It's just the middle of the desert, and so you slow down and find a dirt road, and you take it. So we did that. We got off the road, and we driving away from the freeway, just in an attempt to get away from road noise and whatever. We're driving down this road. It's kind of going, kind of goes over this hill, and then it kind of opens up into these dirt walls that are 15 feet tall, and there's a porta potty, and we're oh, wait, what's going on? Oh, we're in a quarry. So it was an open pit quarry, a big open pit quarry where they were getting rocks and gravel for who knows what, out in the middle of nowhere. And so we drive through this quarry a little bit. We're oh, this is cool. And it kind of crest over this other hill, and there's nothing really there. It's just dirt, right? We crest over this other hill, and there's more quarry, and there's 3 giant, beautiful Caterpillar tractors. And they were new, and they were shiny, and they were amazing. One of them was an articulating front end loader, so it doesn't steer with the wheels. It bends in the middle. They're the giant ones with the tires that are 6.5 feet tall, huge, with a bucket that could lift a house. Just free and gigantic tractor. And then one of them was a track hoe, so it looks like an army tank treads with the big old like bulldozer front. Not a track hoe. That's different. But it's like a
track hoe.
It is a bulldozer with a
It's your backhoe.
track. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
something like that.
these things are just gigantic. You know, the pusher of it was 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, huge. And then the other one, I can't remember what the other one was. Anyway, so we're like, oh, tractor's cool. We're nerds, and climbing around looking at them. We're like, ooh, there's keys in that one. So of course, pick the lock. That was like the logical thing to do, was like pick the lock and start the tractor. So we picked the lock. There's 2 sets of keys in that tractor, so all the tractors had the same keys. So but there was only 2 sets, so we could only drive 2 tractors. So we opened that tractor, opened the other tractor. So we had the articulating tractor and then the bulldozer, and there's 3 of us, and we played for hours. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was so much fun. It was, there's these giant piles of dirt and stuff, and we're like, it's a big sandbox, push this thing and move this over here. We tried to not like ruin things. We were trying to be nice, but we were still having a lot of fun. And these amazingly giant tractors. So there's always one person like riding on the outside of the tractor screaming, It was like a lot of fun.
Waving a flag.
And at one point we're like, oh, let's just like mob it out that way into the desert, right? And we're like, bah! And we drive, I can't remember which one. I think it was the one with the tank tread things. We're like, bah! And it was like, looked like sagebrush, normal Nevada, but it was like marshy and we didn't know it. And and it just like bogs down and stopped moving, and we were stuck. And we tried getting it. We like tried pulling it with the other tractor, and we didn't want to get the other tractor stuck. And we're like, this is like $1 million tractor, and we just got it stuck like 400 yards from its like home. We were like, oh crap. Okay, let's take this one back. And so we left it stuck way out in the desert. Way out, 300 yards, 400 yards out. And we drove the other one back, and we like, all right, let's put it back. And we like put it back, parked it where it was, put the keys in, locked it back up. Went to our minivan, was parked in eyesight of this whole thing, and we like started to set up like our sleeping bags. Like within 45 seconds of like getting to the minivan, we see headlights. It had become nighttime by this point. We see headlights, and a cop car pulls up.
Oh, no!
We were so sure we were going to jail. And the cop pulls up and he's like, hey, guys, what you doing? We're like, we're just, on a road trip. We're camping out,
Just the Lodi Police Department.
Too late.
So we're good old police
just beating up cops, whatever. Too late to drive. We gave him, like, whatever. And he's like, all right, well, we heard some reports of, like, some sounds and noise coming from over this area. Have you guys seen anything? And we're like, oh, no, we didn't. I don't know. We haven't been here very long. I haven't seen anything. And they were like, all right, well, you guys be safe. Have a good night. And they drove off.
What?
And literally by less than a minute, we would have been, I was probably grand theft, larceny, and
really?
It was all kinds of very, very, very bad things. And
that's the common grace of God right there.
Yeah, gosh, it was pretty much the most amount of fun I've had in a tractor. And
sounds like it. I've never driven a loader. I want to drive one.
Oh, gosh,
could you imagine Logan in jail? They're like, what'd you do? Someone's like, oh, I stabbed a guy. What'd you do, Logan? Well, there was this quarry.
So there's a tractor, see?
Oh,
most people go on road trips west. This is how the story begins.
You gotta find fun when you go east.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
it was so
much
fun.
better than I thought.
So much fun.
I
thought you were gonna bring up casinos with maybe air conditioning vents or weird stuff like that. I don't know, but
I felt pretty bad about sticking somebody's $1 million tractor out in the boonies, but.
They got it out.
I'm sure they figured it out. They had keys to the other one, so with the 2, they could probably get it out.
Oh, I'm sure.
Tow ropes.
Yeah.
Some guy's gonna hear us podcast in the Midwest or something.
Oh my god!
He has an eye patch. He goes,
"That was my tractor."
Yeah, he's like, "We found them." He just sends out a team of John Deere guys.
I've told that story many times. Not many times. I've told that story probably 8 times. And only twice, this is the second time, have I ever put in the tractor stuck in the mud part of it, because that's the part I feel really bad about.
Yeah.
And then we all just went home and prayed.
Yeah. Super Christian-y of us. No, the other 2 dudes were very much not Christians, and we had a good time.
That's awesome. I love that story.
You want to ask him the question
of
questions?
All right, Logan, it comes down to this.
Okay.
And we judge you based on this answer.
Cool, I'm down with it.
Maybe take a long drink of that whiskey. If you have any cigarettes, smoke them now.
Smoke them if you got them.
What is better, cake or pie?
Pie.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
Cake is so uncreative. It's like bread with more sugar in it that you put frosting on because it didn't taste good enough.
Visually, you can do more with cake, but
That's true.
visually doesn't matter.
No, it's
the
what's
taste.
inside your mouth that matters.
Exactly. That's what she said.
Sean Myrtleberry Moss.
You did it last time.
I've done lots of things last time, but I'm a terrible influence. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Wait, before we wrap this up, I brought you guys something.
Oh,
What?
my gosh.
This isn't going to transfer well to podcast at all. So nobody can see what I'm pulling out of this bag.
Should we
Logan has a
describe it or
backpack,
no?
and looks like he's
Hold on
pulling
a thing.
something out of it.
But wait for it. Let me open
looks
it.
like a
I only
weapon.
have. It is.
You didn't wait?
You guys hear this?
He's
No clues.
he's breaking some tape and
Wrapped in
plastic wrap.
sterile cellophane.
Oh my gosh, what is this? There's a wooden handle sticking out of a protective cover of some sort. Oh my
No
gosh.
way.
I didn't know much about this place except that there were weapons on the wall. So I made
It's
you
an
guys.
axe.
I made
Seth.
you guys a
Put
weapon.
that on your Instagram.
I made that last night
Oh my gosh.
because I felt
You
like
are a
that's
scholar
the thing you do
and a
is you bring a
gentleman.
gift.
This is the first gift we've ever had, I
So
think.
literally-
So
besides
it's like
alcohol.
a buzzsaw axe, right? It looks-
Yeah, It was 1 a.m. and I was like, "What can I bring them?"
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
stood in my garage and I looked around
That is beautiful.
and I have a drawer of
Oh,
hammers.
I see. It's a skill saw blade.
It
Cut.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
genius.
It's
Oh my
pretty sharp.
gosh.
So I don't think you could chop anything really with it because it's got not a lot of mass, but
Oh,
Look at that beauty.
it's cool.
This is for murder,
Oh my
Sean.
gosh, you legitimately sharpened it.
But I really made, yeah,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
kind of fun to make.
This is beautiful. I feel so honored right now. I don't know how to express this.
Don't
So
know what to say. What about these other lame
I
guests?
made you a weapon.
Nah.
There you go.
This is legit.
This is,
Yeah, it's cool.
Can we put it up
was-
We
there
could
somewhere?
kill it. Yeah, we're
I
putting it.
I'm not
This
gonna
is
lie.
center
After I
piece.
made it, I was like, maybe I should just keep this. It's kind of cool.
Oh, this is so sharp. Too.
It is
Could
pretty
you
sharp. I was,
imagine
like,
defending
doing
your
the
home
cutting
with that?
paper thing. Yeah,
Wait.
well, it just looks
Seth?
freaking scary. It looks terrifying. That's the problem.
This is amazing, Logan. I'm seriously honored and. Oh gosh, that's beautiful. I feel this is amazing. This is the first gift we've ever had.
storm is blowing in now that Logan gets the weapon. What Norse god did you kill to give us this, Logan?
I feel
I
like
sacrificed a hammer and a saw
I've done
blade.
something right with my life. All FOMO has disappeared from my my
No
psyche.
FOMO.
No FOMO, no mo.
It was 10 o'clock last night, and I was falling asleep on the couch, and then, 1 o'clock rolled by, and I'm like, I need to make a weapon! And I did, because I'm an idiot, because I'm that kind of guy.
That's what I love about you.
I decided. Deciding is all of it.
That's
Just
right.
decided to do
Today
it.
we
gotta
will make
decide
a
to do it.
covenant with Needham.
Uh,
A covenant of weapons and blood and dirt.
well, Logan, I am so stoked. I'm going to make a much better mount for that thing, and that is going to be the new centerpiece. We're
I'm
going to have to
kind
take a
of-
new
I
picture.
don't know what to say.
I know. I feel so honored.
Well, I love you
Respect-
guys.
Thank you. We love
I really
you,
did.
Logan.
Yeah,
We
I was,
really do.
no joke. I was like, I love you guys, and I wanted to bring something.
Literally, I will die 1,000 deaths for you now.
See,
Before it was
Ryan,
100.
Ryan Smith, we were on the show. I said, hey, do you have a gift? And he said, how dare you make eye contact with me?
Yeah, he's like that, man.
And he spat in my face.
And he liked the new Star Wars.
I don't think...
Why are you starting that again? That's in such a long argument.
Oh, I'm just... so many things that people
Gosh.
do. But Logan comes in here and sets the standard. It's amazing.
I really felt like, I was like, you know what? I see a glimpse of the new heaven, new earth. And he pulled out that weapon. It just gave me hope. There's a
It's
part of me
true.
I went, you know what? If you have any questions or mainly complaints, send them to talesfromtheditch@gmail.com, which Sean will answer. I will not unless it's an easy question and I'm awake.
Go to talesfromtheditch.download to subscribe, or just go to all the regular podcasts.
Shout Engine, iTunes, Player FM.
We want to plug a local artist. Brian Baltimore has put out, or will in the next few days, put out a album called Carpe Noctem. And we have a few of these to give away. So the first 3 people to email us with Mortalbergen in the subject will get a free CD.
Hold on.
It's just making sure that you don't give CDs to random people.
Okay,
you got to work for it.
What's the phrase?
Mortalbergen.
Is that
in
a real
the subject
word?
line?
You have to spell it right.
Mortalbergen, I don't believe is a word.
It's pretty easy to spell.
Is it like anti-disestablishmentarianism?
No, that's an actual word.
It's
So
cooler.
Mortalbergen.
Mortalbergen. Do you have any other words that you would like to see in the body of the email? Seth or
Nothing else.
Logan?
That's like the name. I give my daughters names, so I just like name things when they're like, "Oh, we should name these chickens Susie and Banana or whatever," and I'm like, "How about Throttle Morton?"
Yes.
The girls usually just roll their eyes, but then the other day, this is a proud moment. Tallulah came to me and she said, "Daddy, if I have a son, I'm gonna name him Thromborton." That was a name that I had suggested for a chicken at one point, and I said, "Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, that's
I will hold you
amazing.
to that." And then when I told Angel that I told her I was going to hold her to it, she was like, "No!" She was mad at me for saying that, but
Tromborton. So,
yeah.
what was the other one we just said?
You came up with it. Why would I know?
If you send an email with the
We'll
subject
rewind it.
of whatever the other one was and Thromborton or Throttleborton, we will give you a free CD. We will literally mail it to you or deliver it to you depending on
It's
where
going
you
to
live.
cost you like $5.
It depends where you live.
Yeah, it really
If there's
depends.
a terror,
I might just
we might
throw
not.
it real hard.
We'll give you a digital version if you live somewhere not in
You can
Reno,
just-
Are you
Nevada.
talking about people listening to a different
Call.
continent?
Just call on the phone. We'll play it.
Actually,
on the
no.
phone.
We'll send it out. We'll send it out to different continents. I will.
I feel like you're being liberal with the term we.
I will send
It's
it out.
less than-
Sean will send it out.
It's less than $20 to go out of the country.
Either way, we'll send you a CD, no matter what continent you are. If you email us with the correct
What was it?
code,
Throbbird? What was it?
you'll have to rewind it to find out.
Yeah. You should have been listening. It's not that we don't know. You should have been listening.
You have to
We'll
listen
send you the
again from
thing.
the beginning.
And did you want to plug Reno Judo Club?
Oh yeah, again, just Reno Judo Club with Baruch Torres, awesome guy in the community. He cares so much about kids building confidence or learning these things that he often will try like find ways to do sponsorship and scholarships for them. And he's just an awesome guy. He really he is one of those guys. I don't say it often, but a lot of people say they're a martial artist. He is like world class. Like he would train kids to just this amazing level, and he's relational, and he's one of the nicest dudes I know. So Reno Judo Club, Baruch Torres, they're on Facebook. Just awesome guy. Check him out. Yeah.
And also, always check out Logan on Etsy.
Sure.
What's your Etsy thing?
Just go to railandoak.com. That takes you to my Etsy page.
Okay. Also,
There's a website that exists that nobody knows about, but I will eventually look that up.
Also,
It's not
check him out.
complicated.
He's I'm a Dork on license plates.
Yep, that's my license plate.
And creator of the Upside Down Kingdom.
That's right. And
Gotcha.
check out Crystal Darkness if you
Sounds-
get a chance.
Oh yeah, that
No,
is-
don't check it out. That's terrible.
What?
If you're gonna check one out, check out Colorado or Arizona. Don't check out
I
the
was
Reno
on
one. It
National
was so bad.
Geographic for 4 seconds, but it was a very different documentary.
Yeah? Were you?
Gang culture.
Yeah.
Really?
Just for 4 seconds, and I had a mask on, so luckily, if you don't know my tattoos, you don't know it was me. Take that, jobs I worked at the time. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, this has been Tales from the Ditch. Zip it up.
Zip it out! Copyright, not ours. I can't believe you brought a weapon. That's awesome.